Hello, everyone, and welcome to the New View podcast. My name is Mac.
And my name is Megan.
Come along with us as we dive into the world of competitive Irish dancing and beyond.
Sharing perspectives, developing community, and learning from each other.
We hope you enjoy.
Hello, we are so excited to have Orla Godley on today. She's a household name in Irish dancing and inspires tons of dancers, including Mac and I. So we're super excited to chat with her today, learn about her story, and just get to know her.
Yeah, I'm pumped to have Orla on because I've definitely been so lucky to become fesh friends with Orla. And we have some cool, like, little memories I feel like we've made together over the years. But maybe just for everybody listening, Orla, could you sort of give us a rundown of your story in dancing? I think you're pretty well known, but it'd be nice to hear the story from your perspective.
My family has always been in Irish dance. So my dance school was run by my like aunts and uncles. So I was lucky that when I first started, I was able to start like really young. So I probably started when I was like 3 and then continued to dance with my family all the way up till I finished dance. I was lucky to win the regionals 9 times, the world's 3 times, and then nationals, I think 6 times. So I was very lucky. Yeah.
I mean, you say you were really lucky, and I definitely think luck doesn't hurt. But I'm sure there was a lot more than just luck and like a lot of hard work and perseverance and like handling lots of challenges to have that crazy success. And I know like you're younger than me, but you always were like a big dance inspiration to me. Just as far as kind of your demeanor, I think, and how you approach dancing, but um like like I always think you've had such a distinct style and it was I just loved watching you dance at competitions and like videos on Instagram and stuff. Um but yeah, like what is that like? Because I just can't even relate to that at all. Like what is that like growing up with sort of your family, I guess, as your dancing teachers?
Yeah. Well, thank you for all of that. Um, I personally, I loved having my family like teach, but I have a lot of cousins that also dance, and they would probably say it's completely different, that they didn't really enjoy it as much. But I feel like there's challenges in both ways. You um you challenge with like leaving the stuff at dance and then going home and still talking about it. So I think with my mom, because she was one of my main teachers, it was always like when we leave the dance studio, we have to leave it all there. We can't bring it home. So I think once like we kind of got into that routine and like learned that like dance stays at dance, it was a lot better. But I loved being able to like talk about dance more with my family. So it's definitely different, but I
Yeah.
enjoyed the process of it.
That's
Yeah.
cool. How then did that kind of work, um, like at a competition and stuff? And I guess as you got older and maybe like had more independence on a competition day because you could do stuff on your own, like what was that balance kind of like?
Well, like on competition day, I really didn't talk to many people. Like my mom and I would definitely not talk on competition day. So it was like when I was younger, I had Gary, so I always used to talk to Gary and like be with him the whole time. And then when I got older, my brother started teaching, so like just me and him, which kind of worked out. I don't know. Like I feel like sometimes it's weird with like siblings, but like we're 10 years different, so it was like he was kind of that person that I looked up to, so I felt like whatever he said, I like would listen. So it was kind of like I didn't really talk to my mom. I kind of just like separated that on dance day.
Yeah, I feel like that's important, like just navigating different dynamics. And I think that's probably true, whether it's your family or not, sort of as you grow up in dancing, I think like figuring out the dynamic with your family that is involved in dancing and with your teachers and your friends and stuff, I think that's an important thing to do, like to actually consciously think about, okay, how do we handle a competition day? Like, what is the protocol for us when, you get picked up from dance and it's like you want to do the whole debrief, but maybe it's not the time and the place to do the debrief of dance. And, how do you like figure out what works for you and like your support network? And I think it's interesting. It's, I think this has been an interesting theme that has been coming up in a lot of conversations is that there's not one way to like do a dance career. Like there's not one way to success in dancing. And I think everybody kind of needs to navigate that and figure that out for themselves. And I think everybody can figure it out. And I think everybody has their own like unique challenges that they have to work through. But even though sometimes they might feel unworkable, I genuinely think like if you have the will to do it and you have the will to, you know, achieve your goals, like there's always a way, which is kind of cool. I'm like so fascinated by like the brother sister dynamic. I feel like that would be so cool to have a sibling. Like I don't have a sibling at all, so I just can't even imagine what that would be like. But then to have a sibling who's like so invested in your success as well. And then like you would have been young when he won the worlds, right? And like you saw him win the worlds. Was that where your like desire to win the worlds came from?
Yeah, so when he won the worlds, I was 9 years old. So like I understood like, oh, like that's a big deal, but like you're obviously nine, like you've never been there. You have like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like after that point, I was like, wow, he does so much in dance that like I was able to see it like firsthand, like how many classes he went to, how many things he did outside of dance, where it was like if I were to get to the point where he got to, like I definitely have to put more in. So I was lucky enough to like see it firsthand when I was super young because it
Mhm.
was like nothing's handed to you in Irish dance pretty much. So it was like I really had to work for it if I wanted it, which was nice to see.
Yeah.
That's cool. And do you feel like you tried to kind of, I mean, this isn't a good way to phrase it, but like copy and paste his journey, or like how did you make his kind of method of reaching the top yours, after seeing it when you were little?
Yeah. Well, like our stance changes so much. Like I feel like back then, like even like cross training and all of that, like it really wasn't a big thing in dance. So like obviously kind of like what Max said, like no one way is like perfect. So like obviously like even now like I'll tell the dancers like this is what I did, but like our bodies are different, our mental like health is different, like nothing's going to be the same. But like I think with like the ideas that like oh my brother did this, like if you added like cross training and like um a psychologist with it, like that could make you like ready to perform. So like I feel like just adding like the little like information that people did like help, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like
kind
the
of like
little tweaks.
finding your own equation and whatever method to your success. Because even Mac and I, though we're quite similar, like we are different in a lot of ways, and no two people are exactly the same. So I just think it's interesting that you could have him as like a model and then take what you needed from that and make it your own. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I always like one of my favorite quotes is to sort of stand on the shoulders of giants. I think that's a quote that originated out of like science literature basically being created and new discoveries and stuff, but I think it's applicable to so many different areas of life, including Irish dancing. And I love that sort of visual in the sense of like it's kind of like the people who came before us got us all to a certain point, and then it's kind of up to us to learn from everything they've done, but then to go beyond that. And it's like they create this cool springboard for us, and then it's about us then contributing and the next generation after us now contributing and figuring out their things, like you said, cross training or talking to a sports psychologist. And like it's kind of about always building on it, like building on what was left for you that inspired you, and then now you have to contribute, which is I think is like really cool. And I think like these conversations are especially cool to kind of collaborate and figure out like, oh, what worked for you, what worked for me, and just kind of going from there. But um, Orla, like another question I'm curious about is like, your family's evolution in Irish dancing. That's pretty cool. But what about your evolution in Irish dancing because you started like you probably don't know a life without Irish dancing. Like you can't remember a time when Irish dancing wasn't in your life. Um, but I'm imagining that like your relationship to it has evolved over the course of your entire life. Can you kind of like
Definitely.
expand
Yeah.
that a bit?
Yeah. Obviously, growing up, like I felt a love for it that like I don't know, it was just different. Like I did other sports and I was like, whatever. But like I just felt so much motivation for dance where it was like, oh, like I really like practice, which is like super weird. But I feel like you need that. Um, but then like obviously through high school and stuff, like you like make friends, you like go out, like it obviously like alters your like relationship with like the sports and like the stuff that you used to do growing up. So I think like towards the end of high school, like going into college, I was like, oh, like I have such a bad relationship with dance where it was like forced. Like I needed to be at dance like because if I wasn't, then someone else would be upset or something like that. So I kind of took a step back from dance for a little bit and um like just enjoyed my like college freshman year, and then after that I decided that I wanted to come back during COVID because like I don't know, you have so much like motivation for so long and then it's like I'm just doing this because I have to. So I wanted to like go back to dance to be like, this is why I did dance. Like I love dance. Like I loved practicing and all this stuff. So I was like, the goal for like my competitive career, I don't know how long it would be after that, was just to like enjoy the process, like enjoy going on stage, enjoy traveling. Cause like, I don't know, I feel like when you're younger, you don't really think about that as much. So yeah.
Totally. That's really cool. And I'm curious because I think that that's such a great intention and a good reason to come back to dancing. And I would like to have more of that also, like that sort of approach of like I'm coming back to enjoy this process and enjoy competing and enjoy doing all that. And I love all of that. And at the same time, have struggled to do that, even though like I know I want to enjoy it and that's my intention. But were there things that you specifically did that helped you sort of stay in alignment with that intention of like, no, I'm going to enjoy being on stage and competing, or I'm going to enjoy these moments in the studio or whatever that might be?
Yeah. Well, I think in a weird way, I think COVID really helped with that because you were like kind of out of the scene for like what, like 3 years? Yeah, like 3 years because the last Worlds was 2019. So I don't know. I think it was like in my head, I was like, 3 years have gone by. Like you really have no idea what can happen. So part of me was like, every competition should be like lucky that it's even happening. So it was like you're lucky to be traveling again. So like part of me just kept like saying that to myself, like you're lucky to be traveling again. And like obviously like when you got to nationals or like the Oireachtas, like there's a lot of nerves. Like you just like the last competition you did, you got second in the worlds. Like it's still a lot of pressure that you have to hold up to, but I think I just kept reminding myself like so many years have gone by and like you don't even know what everyone else has gone through. So like this could be the last time you're on this stage. You literally have no idea. So that's what I kept always saying to myself.
I really like that. I feel like too when you're kind of in, I mean, maybe this is not the right way of thinking about it or summarizing your journey, but when you're kind of in a phase of burnout or whatever, like pre-pandemic, and you're just kind of like getting through it and all of that, and it's tons of hard work and takes up all your time, and you still love it, but it's not until you've had a little bit of
Mhm.
time away from the scene of it all where you're like, oh, I miss this, and like this is so valuable, and I love this huge part of my life. So it's just interesting how time away can kind of rekindle that burnout phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, shift your
Mhm.
perspective. And it sounds like to me from what you were saying, it was kind of a shift away from, oh, I have to do this because this is like what I've always done to, oh, I get to do this. And
Mhm.
I think that can be really hard when you're sort of in the thick of it and, you know, there isn't a specific reason for you to be away from it. Like you don't have an injury or there's not a pandemic or whatever. And I think like a lot of dancers, myself included, can experience a lot of guilt around, I just don't want to be in the studio practicing, or I don't want to go to the fesh this weekend.
I
And
want to do other things or spend my
yeah,
time doing this. You have like, because you're just a person, you want to do all kinds of things like as they come up in life. But yeah, it's just interesting.
Yeah. I actually, one of our dancers recently like came to us and was like kind of like burnout, and like she's very young, she's like 10 years old, and like part of me was just like, I think you just need to take the summer away and be a kid, like do what you want to do. And like obviously it has its pros and cons. Like you miss a competition, you're missing class, so like you're obviously going to be a little bit step back, but like I feel like for Irish dance in general, like it's more worth it to do it if you actually like it, because if you don't, then you're really not going to get much out of like all your practices and stuff. So it's like take the step back, do what you want to do, like hang out with your friends all summer and then like see where you are after that. It's a lot harder to do than like just to say, but yeah.
yeah. No, well, I think that's really, really cool. And I think you're right. Sometimes it seems counterintuitive because it feels like, oh, I should be practicing. I'm wasting all this time not practicing, or I'm going to lose my fitness or whatever. And sh you're right. Sure, that might factor in, but in the long run, you might give yourself way more longevity. I actually think that about myself because I had a back injury that took me out for pretty much a year when I was 18 or 19, and it wasn't really certain whether I'd come be able to come back or not. And as much as that was horrible and I hated having to be away from it, and I did lose fitness and I had to work hard to come back. When I came back, I felt so re-energized, and this just like kind of what you were saying is sense of gratitude for just being able to do it again. And then I would say again, the same thing kind of happened a little bit during COVID, just in the sense of being out of like the competition schedule, sort of. There was like that chance to breathe and reset and get re-inspired almost. Um, and I think that's part of the reason why I was able to dance as long as I did. So in a lot of ways, I'm grateful for that. Another question that comes up for me, um, and I guess I'll ask you, both of you guys, is, um, I don't know. I think growing up, especially like having a very clear set goal of I'm trying to win the world championships, we can tend to get like pretty tunnel vision. And I think that's necessary to an extent in terms of like this, I need to practice this many hours and like this is what I can do in a week. But kind of in the same vein of what we were talking about of, giving yourself that rest or letting yourself do other things. Have you guys ever felt that actually doing something else, like you developed a part of yourself that ended up helping with your dancing, or you learned something that actually applied to dancing that surprised you?
Um, I mean, I I feel like definitely yes. Like growing up, I always took like 3 days off of dance to like, I don't know, like quote unquote be a kid, but like I feel like just even hanging out with friends, like you kind of realize that like, oh, like you're definitely like this is gonna sound like kind of mean, but like you're different. Like you can go to class and practice 7 days a week and be super happy, but like some kids don't have like the motivation to like go for a walk. So it's like, I don't know, in my head it was like I always felt like rejuvenated every time like I hung out with my friends, not in like a mean way, like they were great, but like it was like wow, like I do have like something special that can like push me in dance like to keep going, I guess. So I
Actually,
don't know.
I really like that. And I get what you mean. It's not in a mean way. It's just kind of like, whoa, I'm lucky that I was put on this earth at loving this thing so much that it kind of gives me an extra gear that some people don't have in a
Yeah, it
way.
makes you like appreciate what your special thing is, and you're like,
Mhm.
whoa, I get to do this all the time. Like I'm pretty lucky. So
Yeah.
I get that too. And I think like
Yeah.
to the question you asked, I guess, I mean, Mac knows this, but I love like yoga and running and all of that. And I think that definitely impacts how I approach dancing, and that is time away from dancing, I guess, in a lot of ways. So that might be viewed as like, oh, a waste of my time, a waste of my energy. But doing those activities helps me to kind of feel connected to myself and learn about myself more on a deeper level, which then I think in turn impacts my dancing. Because dancing is like uniquely personal, I think. I don't know, that might be just my perspective, but I think it's a very personal kind of art when you get up on stage and you're by yourself in the studio and on your own so much of the time. You just have to get to know yourself pretty well in order to keep going, right?
Yeah, for sure. And so Orly, I know you're big into training and cross training and stuff outside of dance, and that's a big thing that is it fair to say you've kind of transitioned into doing more of that since dancing, or was that always kind of a thing that you did at this level?
Well, like I obviously did like cross training, but like nothing to the extent that I do now because like you don't want to really like you don't really need to be working your upper body or like I guess you do, but but like since dance I feel like to like do something with my time, I like fell in love with like strength training and all of that stuff. So I think like that was just a motivation like shift that I did like from dance because you obviously need something to keep you focused
Hmm.
when you like quit dance.
Yeah, you have
Totally.
that like wired personality. You have to use your energy
Yeah.
and your focus and discipline somehow. Otherwise, you're like, oh my gosh, who am I? What do I do? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of a scary thing almost. I'm curious your thoughts on this, Orla, because I'm just new to this retirement game a little bit. And I'm just curious your thoughts on, like did you feel like you had to reinvent yourself a little bit once you were like, no, I'm fully retired from dancing, or has that transition been more seamless for you?
Well, it was definitely hard. Like I feel like I didn't really understand like how hard it was until like after college because like when I was in college I was like, "Oh, I'll still go to class, like I'll still practice with them." Like, like you're still
Yeah.
like learning in school. So it's totally different when I got out of school. It was like, "Oh shoot, like the whole life that I've known is just like it's like you have to figure it out." So like I think teaching dance definitely helped, but at the same time it was like I was teaching dance to the kids that I used to be in class with.
Hmm.
So that was definitely a whole nother like struggle where it was like, yeah, we're friends, but also like I'm trying to teach you now. So I think that was trying to like reinvent my like space at the dance studio because like my safe space was like being by myself, like working on my like treble jig. But now
Yeah.
it was like whole other side of it. So that was pretty tricky. But then, like, I feel like outside of dance, like, you always have this, like, something that you enjoy to do. Like, even now, I'll still go to the studio and, like, make up dances. Like, I try to, like, keep reminding myself that, like, just because I quit, like, competing doesn't mean, like, I have to quit, like, the love of dance. Like, I could
I love
still
that so much.
enjoy, the training, like, training and then, like, going to the dance studio. Like, yeah. So,
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's always in you, which is kind of nice. Like,
mm,
you recognized early on when you were a kid, like, oh, I have something special that's maybe different than my friends or whatever. And that doesn't go away when you retire. It definitely changes and you have to kind of find your footing again. But it's
mm.
just cool to hear that, like, it does stick with you, you know?
Yeah. And that's you've I mean always been an inspiration to me in the competitive scene, but you're an inspiration to me in terms of how you're just like, no, like just because I'm not competing doesn't mean I can't go to the studio and do the thing I love no matter what. And yeah, maybe you're not trying to be prepped and ready for the fesh on the weekend, but you can just do it simply for yourself and because you want to do it the best that you can or make up a new step or whatever it is. I love that message and I hope that people out listening to this hear that message and are inspired by that too if they're in a similar phase of life where maybe the competitive part of your career is over and maybe you're not heading off to a show, but it's fine. Like you can still just go practice whenever you want to. They're like, why is that any different than going to the gym, or going for a
At
run.
no point do
Exactly.
you have to fully walk away and leave it behind. You can do it for as long as
Yeah.
your body can, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Choose
As long
your own
as
adventure. Well, it's been so, so nice getting to chat with you. I'm so glad we could make this happen. I just think, yeah, you've got a great perspective on dancing and you've got a unique sort of story. So it's been really cool to hear you kind of get to tell us about that a little bit more. But yeah, thanks for coming on and sharing your thoughts. And yeah, it's been great.
Thanks for having me. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to have some more chats and meetups soon. Thanks for joining us in this episode of the New View podcast. We hope you enjoyed.
If you have any ideas about future guests we should interview or want to connect, you can find us on Instagram at newview.collective or email us at newviewcollective.mm@gmail.com.